We're going to stay with our top story, and that is about President Trump denying using bad language to describe developing countries during a conversation about immigration. Just before that, however, we've got some breaking news coming in. It is about Donald Trump. The United States is about the Iranian nuclear deal. And the White House is saying that, as expected, Donald Trump will waive Iran nuclear sanctions, but that will be for the last time. They have, however, imposed human rights sanctions on Iran's top judge. In relation to that deal, the nuclear deal, Donald Trump says that he wants the deal strengthened with a follow-on agreement in 120 days, or the U.S. will withdraw. That's according to a senior administration official. So that is Donald Trump waiving Iranian nuclear sanctions, but for the last time, the White House says. So we'll keep you up to date on what happens there. Let's go back to our top story and those alleged remarks by Donald Trump. They've caused some controversy. Botswana published this letter asking the U.S. government to clarify the comments, and South Africa's ANC also responded.
Ours is not a shithole country, neither is Haiti or any other country in distress. And it is extremely offensive for President Trump to make statements about other countries. It's not as if the United States doesn't have difficulties. There are millions of unemployed people in the US, millions of people who don't have healthcare services or access to education, and we would not deign to make comments as derogatory as that about any country.
Well, for more, I'm joined from Washington by James Norton. There he is, a former senior official at the Department of Homeland Security, and by Oliver McGee, a former U.S. transport official, author, and a Trump supporter. Hello, Oliver. Right, so the UN says it's racist. The AU says it's alarmed. What do you think? James, you first.
You know, I think it's an unfortunate situation today, and it's obviously disappointing. You know, President Trump seemed to be taking a step forward on Tuesday, having this bipartisan meeting on immigration and bringing senators together, and you know, trying to get a deal on what's called DACA here in the U.S. But you know, it seems last night a lot of that has blown up, and a lot of that good faith has blown up, and that, you know, it just seems to be another case of, you know, 1 step forward and 9 steps back for the Trump administration anytime it tries to work with any type of policy issue, and it speaks with multiple voices, which I think is, again, another challenge for this administration. There's the president's Twitter account, there's the president's you know, staff, there's you know, other statements of policy that were released by administrations, so you don't really know who you're talking to, and I think that's another big problem and issue for this administration as it kind of stumbles into 2018.
Right, Oliver, what do you think? Do you think, if these comments are true, do you think it's correct for the President of the United States to write off an entire continent as, quote, a shithole?
Well, our words create a world, and today in the White House, the words are about Dr. Martin Luther King's 50th anniversary proclamation ceremony and its signing. He's saying today that he's representing the words of Martin Luther King, and celebrating that as we go and look at a great man, a Nobel laureate, who was about equality and community, but also he was also about liberty and efficiency, because Dr. Martin Luther King was essentially leaning right. And so he was really telling us all to move beyond what we see in the local words today and look at how our words create our world for a greater nation, a greater American prosperity, a greater American progress, and also international prosperity and international progress. And so I think this is a day of celebration more than just really looking at bad words on the media.
You're talking about the signing ceremony, the honoring of Dr. Martin Luther King, but I wanted to know what you think about these comments that Donald Trump said that he said immigrants from shithole African nations.
My sense is I typically do not like to go into bad words. I like to do good words. I ignored it. I think the larger picture of what he's trying to say is that we cannot open our borders, across international borders, to all who do not come in with a merit-based immigration process or a merit-based contribution to capital and technology and capital and wealth, so that we can create more growth that is taking place across the nation states. Essentially, we cannot have open borders across all international borders so that we have stressed national incomes. And I think that's what we're seeing. We're even seeing that Theresa May at UK is even speaking of this as well. So we have to make some choices. And so what we're really doing is talking about those choices between liberty and efficiency, equality and community, democracy, markets, communications, and technology. And we really need to look at those great 8 ideas and start thinking about how we're going to have nation states work together in a global community as its economy is internationally, it's moving very, very fast at fast speed.
Okay, James, I want to bring you in here. The president came out and said, listen, I didn't say that. He said I didn't use that language. He didn't specify what language he was talking about. He said I didn't use that language. I did use strong language in response to a bad deal. Do you think that we're losing focus here, that this is really about immigration and the focus should be on immigration?
You know, I think, again, the problem with the Trump administration right now is they're consistently inconsistent in that, you know, statements like this, whether or not the president did or didn't say it sounds like he did say it, you know, just causes more chaos within Washington and within the administration and those who are trying to move forward. You know, Republicans have had this Wizard of Oz strategy essentially since the president came in, essentially doing what Oliver said, which was, I'm going to kind of ignore what he said and I'm going to keep on doing what I'm doing in terms of what my job is. But the problem with that is words do matter. Words that come from the bully pulpit do have an effect globally. And so I think we really need to look at this, again, as another issue of chaos that's being caused at the White House. And I think that, again, on Tuesday, it seemed like maybe we were headed in the direction of getting a deal, but then, you know, President Trump was panned largely by far-right conservatives that were concerned that he was going to do a deal on DACA. And then you almost kind of see like this was a scripted event to kind of have this harsh language to kind of bring back those conservatives that felt like he left them on Tuesday. So you just kind of don't know which way anything is going, and it goes back to the multiple voices challenge, and you don't really know who you're talking to at the White House.
Oliver, what do you think? Do you think this is just more example, really, that there is chaos in the White House?
Absolutely not. Everything is going according to plan. Essentially, he had to turn down that deal that they brought forward by the bipartisan group because it wasn't really meeting the goals of the interest that why he was elected. Make no bones about it. Donald Trump is going to deliver his promise. He's going to build that wall. If you have no funding in the plan for the wall, it's a non-starter. The negotiation ends. But if you also want to have all kinds of borders open and have the Dreamers coming in so you can build the electoral college base and build a brand new Democratic base of voters with heavy hands and holdouts and so forth, that's going to be a non-starter as well. So I think that was what's going on today. They're going to be electable again. They're going to get another plan. They're going to get another proposal. It's going to be more to where everyone gets a yes, and I'm pretty sure that everything is going to be very, very fun and getting a good, strong, bipartisan immigration bill that's going to serve the American progress and American prosperity.
Oliver, I want to talk to you on a personal level. You wrote a book, Jumping the Aisle, How I Became a Black Republican in the Age of Obama. How do you feel on a personal level when you hear Donald Trump reportedly calling the continent of Africa, countries in Africa, shitholes? I really do apologize for saying that again. I don't say it easily or lightly. How do you feel a huge proportion of the population came from, as slaves, came to the US from Africa? On a personal level, Oliver, how do you feel?
Well, on a personal level, when I received my PhD in 1988, I was one of 9 African Americans to receive a PhD in the United States in engineering, according to the National Science Board. So we as a country have to work in developing how we develop persons of color in all areas of social, technological, educational, economic, and political issues. And that is the reason why I wrote the book, Jumping the Aisle, How I Became a Black Republican in the Age of Obama. When I looked at my party, which was going way far left off the table, I say when my party left, I had no choice to turn right.
But
I went
how
to
did
work
you,
in Chicago
Oliver, as an African American in the United States, how did you feel when you heard coming out and saying that the U.S. had used the term shithole African nations?
I look at these types of rhetorics on both sides of the aisle. I say left turn, right turn, people are lost to the point of no return on the Washington roundabouts. You have to, Kimberly, pick your battles, especially if you're an African-American male like myself. And we're trying to fight
the President of the United States. Do you not think this is a battle worth fighting?
I think the battle for worth fighting is for the future of African-American men and boys. I wrote a book on it. So I'm walking the talk. But I can't walk the president's talk because he is the president of the United States and I'm not. But what I will do is walk about what I'm writing about, which is the future of African-American men and boys. And I wrote Jump in the Aisle because I saw that our party at left was not meeting the interests of black development in this country. We are a conservative body, black folks are. We're conservative about our pocketbooks, we're conservative about our education. I have to always fight for getting at the table and being at the table all the time. So I wrote that book as a statement to be able to say, hey, we're still fighting for these rights and issues. And I am definitely doing that. But at the same time, I'm looking at both parties and seeing which one is going to build jobs, which is going to create wealth, and which is going to be about individualism and liberty. And that's what I'd rather have. I'd rather look for myself in my own meritocracy and merit-based system that I have for myself to move forward than to try to look for a government very far away to be able to look for that. I won't be able to get satisfied by a large government from that. So I pick up from my bootstraps and I move forward in that way.
Okay, Oliver, James, I want to finish by asking you what you think about the language. A lot of Trump supporters love him for what they say is his honesty, the fact that he isn't a great diplomat, he isn't a great politician, and he does use tough language. Do you think that this is actually going to appeal to his base?
You know, I guess I hope not, and I think that, you know, as I said earlier, the bully pulpit is a very powerful place, and we often refer to the president as a leader of the free world, and I'm not necessarily sure that if he did in fact use language like that, that's leading. I think that's actually quite the opposite, and so I think that is a problem that the U.S. is having right now in terms of its relationships with its international partners, and it's also a challenge we're having here at home. You know, the president should be an inspirational figure, whoever that is, and right now I'm not sure that the country sees it that way, and I also think that the president was swept into office with the idea that he would be a great negotiator and that he would, you know, get deals done. Well, you know, here we are, you know, mid-January, and we still don't have a budget, and we're again days away from the country, you know, being defunded once again. And so, you know, I think that the idea that DACA somehow is bringing people into this country is actually not true. DACA is about people who are already in the country through no fault of their own, and that trying to give them a legalization status, not necessarily a citizenship, but legalization status, and that's what the Graham-Durbin bill really was all about. And that's actually what the president agreed to on Tuesday, and 80% of the country agree on DACA. So,
okay, James, thank you so much. And Oliver, thank you so much for coming on. I know it's a very emotional topic. Thank you both.